So this is the circuit diagram that I already discussed in my other video tutorial about solar power system. Today I will discuss how to compute the components of hybrid solar setup, and first is the solar panel rating and the quantity of solar panels. Next is the rating of hybrid inverter. Of course, we will also compute the rating of the following components, and they are DC circuit breaker, DC surge protective device, battery circuit breaker, AC circuit breaker, and AC surge protective device. So that is the components of hybrid solar setup, wherein we will compute the ratings of each component. If you are interested to learn how to make DIY of solar PV system, it is better to watch this video till the end. So that is the steps to be followed in order to have a process for computation. Now we will begin with step 1, load analysis or load profile. In this step, what we need to know is the energy consumption per day in kilowatt hour. Why do we need to know the energy consumption in a day? Because this consumption will be our reference in computing the solar panel rating that we are going to discuss in step 2. There are different methods to compute the energy consumption per day. One is by using electric bill issued by the utility company. We will see in the electric bill the actual consumption, and this is the monthly energy consumption. So to get the energy consumption per day, we need to divide the monthly energy consumption by 30 days. And this is equal to 200 kilowatt hour divided by 30 days, which is equal to 6.67 kilowatt hour or 670 watt hour. So that is the easy way to find the energy consumption per day, because we always have our electric bill in our house. So we are finished at step 1. But before we will proceed with step 2, which is sizing of solar panel, I just want to show you also the other method to find the energy consumption per day. Now we will discuss the other method on how to find the energy consumption per day. So this method is quite long to do. Of course, you will choose the first method, which is by using the electric bill. But I think I need to discuss also the other method. What we need is the wattage of different electrical equipment or electrical appliances. But there are instances wherein the appliances has no nameplate, maybe because it has no nameplate or the nameplate was lost due to its old age. For example, in this nameplate, what we have is the current or amperes and voltage. In that case, we have a way to compute the wattage, and it is by using the formula of Ohm's law. So it is like a law because it consists of different formula like power, voltage, current, and resistance. So if you are not familiar with Ohm's law, we have what we called as Watt's will and Ohm's law. And in this watch wheel, we will see the formula of power, voltage, current, and resistance. If the nameplate has only current or amperes, which was called as capital letter I, and voltage or volts, which was called as capital letter B. So in order to compute the wattage of the appliances, we will use the formula of power in watts, which is equal to B times I, or voltage times current. So the wattage is 120 volts times 10 amperes, which is equal to 1200 watts. How about if the appliances has no nameplate? Like for example, this electric fan. So what will you do to know the wattage of the appliances? You need a multitester to measure the resistance in ohms. Then set the knob of the tester to resistance. Then point the two probe of the tester into the plug of electric fan. For example, the tester indicate the resistance of 200 ohms. So you have voltage equal to 230 volts and the resistance you measure equal to 200 ohms. Then look for the formula in Watt wheel and Ohm's law. So you need the formula of power in watts. Based on the Watt wheel, the formula of power in watts is equal to voltage square over resistance. So this will be equal to 230 volts square divided by 200 ohms, and this will be equal to 264 watts. Therefore, the wattage of electric fan is 264 watts. So if you already knew the wattage of all the appliances, you may proceed to load computations. In this load computation, you will make a list of all the appliances in the house. But in this video lecture, we will list only a few appliances or loads. So what is the purpose of getting the wattage of the loads? Because you need to know the total energy consumption per day. And this will be your reference value to determine the capacity of solar setup. So you need to make a list of appliances that you like to supply by your solar and also the watts of each appliances and how much time you will use in a day and the quantity of each appliances and the total energy per day. For example, you have the following appliances like electric pan, laptop, rice cooker, and LED bulb. They have the following wattage 80, 60, 500, and 10. And it has operating hours per day of 5, 5, 2, and 12. And the quantity of appliances are 2, 1, 1, and 4, respectively. So to find the watt hours per day of each appliances, you will multiply the watts, hours per day, and quantity. So 80 times 5 times 2 is 800 watt hour. 60 times 5 times 1 is 300 watt hour. 500 times 2 times 1 is 1000 watt hour. 10 times 12 times 4 is 480 watt hour. So to get the total energy consumption per day, just add the watt hour per day of all appliances And the total for our example is 2,580 watt-hour. And that is our load reference per day. But supplying this total energy from the source, which is from solar panel, we need to consider the power losses of each equipment, like the solar panels, inverter, and wires, before it reaches the loads. You need to remember that every electrical system has system losses, and the system losses will depend on many factors. For example, in the solar panels, there are many factors that can affect the performance of the panel. First is the partial shading. Like for example, the shading coming from nearby trees or any structures. Another factors that significantly affect the output is the operating temperature. Also, another components that add to system losses is inverters. Most inverters have an efficiency rate of around 95 to 98%, which translate from 2 to 5% power loss. Another components that causes power losses are DC cable and AC wires. All wires and cables have resistances, and the amount of resistance depends on length, diameter, and materials of wires. Now let's start with the sizing of solar panels. So the question is, how to size the solar panels? We discussed earlier in step 1, which is the load computations, and based on our computation, we get the total energy consumption per day of 2,580 watt-hour. To convert it to kilowatt-hour, please note that K means kilo, kilo means 1,000, WH means watt-hour, and 1 kilowatt-hour is equal to 1,000 watt-hour. So 2,580 watt-hour is equal to 2.58 kilowatt-hour. As per our computations, the total energy consumption per day is 2,580 watt-hour. And we discussed earlier that the system will incur system losses. So to compensate the system losses, we need to design the rating of the solar panels by adding the system losses to the computed total energy consumption per day. Usually, some designers added a buffer ranging from 30 to 35%. So with total energy consumption of 2.58 kilowatt-hour, I will use a 35% system losses. So 35% of 2.58 kWh is equal to 0.903 kWh, and 2.58 kWh plus 0.903 kWh is equal to 3.483 kWh. And that is the total energy per day, which includes 35% buffer that the solar panel will supply. So we have one parameter we need, which is the total energy consumption per day plus a buffer of 35%. In the computation of solar panel rating, there is another parameter we need to use, and that is the peak sun hours. So what is peak sun hours, and why it is considered in the computation of solar panel? So let me try to explain it. It is a common knowledge that the solar panel needs energy from the sun to produce electricity or power. So for the manufacturers of solar panel to estimate the power output of the panel, they need to know the maximum intensity of sunlight, which they called as irradiance, and this is equal to 1000 watts per square meter. They also determined the period of time when the 1000 watts per square meter irradiance was experienced in certain locations, and they will call it as peak sun hours. So in different countries in the world, there is different average peak sun hours in a year. So using peak sun hours in the calculation of solar panel rating, it is important because it is the best way to estimate the solar panel power output. In layman terms, this is the period of time that the particular area will experience an intense heat or sun rays, and this is usually happening from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Philippines. If you look in the graph, this is what it looks like. You will see in the graph that 1000 watts per square meter intensity of sunlight is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Let's say the daily average peak sun hours is 4.5 hours. So to compute for the solar panel capacity in kilowatt, we will divide 3.483 by 4.5 hours. So the solar panel capacity is equal to 0.774 kilowatt or 774 watts. We already computed the solar panel capacity equal to 774 watts, and since the available capacity of solar panel in the market is by 50 watts, 100 watts, 200 watts, 500 watts, etc., we will make the 774 watts as 800 watts. So in our example setup, we have two options. It is either use the 100 watts solar panel or 200 watts solar panel. Let's say we use 100 watts. Now to get the quantity of solar panel to be used, it is simply 800 watts divided by 100, and this is equal to 8 pieces of 100 watts. And if we use 200 watts, we get 4 pieces of 200 watts panel. In the computation of inverter capacity, there are different methods used, but it has its own reason and purpose. And this time, I will show you the different method. I will use the load profile in our example setup. Like for example, some installer use the total load in the house as reference. So in this load profile, the total load is to simply add the following wattage of the appliances. So the total load is 650 watts. Therefore, the size of inverter will also be equal to 650 watts. Likewise, some installers have used the rating of solar panel to size the inverter. So if we use the capacity of solar panel that we already computed in this example setup, the inverter will have a rating of 800 watts. Other installers have used solar panel capacity as reference, but they added a 25% factor to oversize the inverter capacity to anticipate future expansion and load surge. So the inverter rating would be 1000 watts. So we have different method to compute the inverter capacity, but it is all correct. It will depend on the owner or installer, but of course it will incur different costs of investment. Now we are going to discuss the sizing of battery bank. But let me first explain further about hybrid solar system setup. In my other videos about solar system setup, I already discussed about the good characteristic of hybrid solar systems setup. Though the inverter is designed to have three sources of power as input to the inverter, it will be operated with only one source of power as input. It can be AC grid power only, or solar power only, or battery only, but of course, you cannot do that. Likewise, it is not economical if you will use the combination of AC grid and battery bank. The best and economical combination is solar power plus AC grid, and this will be likened to grid-tied setup, or the combination of solar power plus battery, and this will be likened to off-grid setup. In addition, hybrid setup can also be operated without connected battery, and this feature is advantageous to those who have no budget to buy battery because battery is so expensive. In my hybrid setup, I have connected 8 lead-acid batteries with 100 ampere-hour capacity per battery. Although I have hesitation, but my purpose is to use it during brownout or have interruption of grid power. At least you have a source of power for your lighting system or to power few electric fan to avoid discomfort, especially if you have baby. Now what is battery? In this hybrid setup, battery is another source of power that will provide electricity to the loads, just like the solar and grid. So the three sources of energy is in tandem. They will help each other. If one is not sufficient, other source will help. If one is cut off, other will take over. So the battery will come a time that it will handle all the loads of your house. So it is necessary to design the rating of battery considering also the parameters we use in sizing the solar panels. So we need to use also the load profile. Now what are the other parameters we will consider? We also include a buffer to compensate the system losses, and this is equal to 3.483 kWh. That is the total consumption per day plus 35%. Now, will that parameters are enough to compute the size of the battery bank? The answer is no, because there is another parameters to be considered, and that is the DOD or depth of discharge of the battery. These parameters was recommended by the manufacturers of the battery, wherein the purpose is to lengthen the lifespan of the battery. Please note that the DOD for lead-acid battery is different with the DOD of lithium-ion battery. For instance, the lead-acid battery has 50% DOD, while lithium-ion battery has 80% DOD. Maybe you will ask, how can we know if the battery has reached its percent DOD? That will be programmed or set in the inverter in terms of cutoff voltage. And that is my next video lecture to be done. So don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. There is another parameter that may be considered by an owner of the solar setup, but it is not necessary, or I may say compulsory, to be considered. This parameter is called as the days of autonomy. So what is the use of the days of autonomy? In simple explanation, it is the parameters that battery capacity will increase. For example, I will apply 2 days autonomy. This means that when you use 1 day autonomy, you will need only 5 battery of 100 Ah each. So for 2 days autonomy, you need another 5 battery of 100 ampere hour each. So the total battery needed is 10 battery of 100 ampere hour each. Talking about days of autonomy, this is the capacity of battery to supply the loads independently. That is without solar and grid, considering the battery bank are fully charged. To demonstrate it in our example, we already knew that 3.483 kWh is the amount of energy in a day to be supplied by battery or solar. Now let's say you decided to apply 2 days of autonomy. You just simply doubled the 3.483 kWh by multiplying it with 2 days, and it will be 6.966 kilowatt hour. In this example setup, we will be using a 1 day of autonomy, and this is equal to 3.483 kWh. Now we have all the needed parameters to compute the size of a battery bank. In this example setup, I will use lead-acid battery in our computation. But if you will compute for lithium-ion battery, just change the value of DOD in the formula that you will use. So this deep cycle lead-acid battery have a DOD of 50%, and we use a 1 day of autonomy, and the DC system voltage is 48 volts. Now the size of battery bank in ampere hour is equal to total energy consumption per day, including 35% buffer, times days of autonomy divided by depth of discharge times DC system voltage, and this is equal to 3.483 kWh, then times 1000 to convert in watt hour, then times 1 day, then divide by 50%, then we need to convert the percent into decimal, then times 48. So the size of the battery bank is 145 ampere hour. But let's make it 150 ampere hour. So the 150 ampere hour we get is the capacity of 112 volts 150 ampere hour battery. What we get is 150 hour 12 volts battery. but our DC system voltage is 48 volts. So we need 4 batteries, and the 4 batteries will be connected in series to get a 48 volts battery bank. Then the positive and negative terminal of the battery will be connected to the inverter. Since you chose a 48 volts DC system, it is necessary to buy an inverter with 48 volts DC input voltage. Now we will compute the rating of DC circuit breaker for solar panel. Now what are the parameters to be considered in computing the circuit breaker capacity? If you will analyze the circuit breaker is supposed to protect the feeder cable and the solar panels. As we already discussed in step 2, we computed the rating of solar panel, and that is 800 watts. And we know also what are the capacity of panel available in the market. So based on the available panel in the market, we will use either 100 watts or 200 watts. Of course, it is more economical in terms of labor, space, and cost if we use 200 watts panel. So in this example setup, we will be using 4 pieces of 200 watts solar panel. We already discussed earlier in this video on how to size the inverter, and the rating we get is 1000 watts. So the next thing to do is to look for the rating of hybrid inverter available in the market with 1000 watts rating, and then look for the specification of the DC voltage range because it will be your reference on what connection you will make for the solar panel. For example, the nameplate of the hybrid inverter have operating voltage range of 30 to 150 volts DC. Now find the VOC or open circuit voltage of 200 watts solar panel that you will use. And based on the nameplate, the solar panel has VOC equal to 23.5 volts. So based on the VOC of solar panel and the DC voltage range of inverter, you have two options regarding the possible connection of solar panel. Now if you will connect two panels in series, you will add the VOC of two panels, and that is 47 volts. So it is within the range of 30 to 150 volts. Now if you will connect 4 200 watts panels in series, you will get 94 volts. And it is also within the range of 30 to 150 volts. Though both options are within the DC voltage range of the inverter, but the 4 panels in series is the best choice because it is much better to choose a higher voltage that is within the DC voltage range of the inverter, because higher voltage input to the inverter means higher efficiency of the inverter. Since we decided to use 4 panels in series, the next thing to do is to look for the short circuit current or ISC of the panels, because that will be your reference in sizing the DC circuit breaker. If we look at the nameplate of the solar panel, it has a short circuit current of 15.7 amperes per panel. Since the 4 panels is in series connection, the current flowing in the circuit is the same at 15.7 amperes. So to compute for the rating of circuit breaker, you will add to the value of ISC a 25% safety factor as per Philippine Electrical Code. So what is 25% safety factor used for? This is the capacity that you will add to the rating of the circuit breaker to compensate for the continuous loads, because the operation in continuous loads should not exceed 80% of the circuit breaker's rating. So after applying 25%, the final current capacity of circuit breaker is equal to 19.63 amperes. Since that rating of circuit breaker is not available in the market, we will use a 20 ampere DC circuit breaker. Now, sizing of feeder wire for solar panel is the same as sizing of each circuit breaker in terms of parameters to be used. Those parameters are short circuit current and 25% safety factor. In this case, the 25% is a safety measure to account for potential overloads or surge in current that a solar panel system might experience. So the size of wire should rate at 19.63 amperes. By looking in the conductor ampacity table, we will use a number 14 AWG wire THW or THHN. To size the feeder wire for battery bank, you have to consider the inverter rating, battery bank voltage, and the application of 25% safety factor. The 25% factor is also a safety measure to ensure that the wires can handle the loads under sustained or continuous operation without overheating. Now we will compute first the maximum current, and this will be equal to 20.83 amperes. Then apply 25% safety factor, and we will get 26.04 amperes. Now if we are going to look in the ampacity table, we will use number 12 AWG THHN with 30 ampere full load current rating. To size the feeder wire from inverter to loads, you have to consider the total wattage of the loads, but sometimes you must consider future expansion. So you will use the inverter capacity. So the maximum current using the inverter capacity is 4.54 amperes. Also, you must consider applying the safety factor for continuous loads. So the final current will be 5.68 amperes. If we are going to look in the ampacity table, we will use number 14 AWG THHN. So the AC breaker to be used is rated at 15 ampere or 20 ampere miniature circuit breaker. Now we are in our last step, which is the sizing of surge protective device. We already knew in the nameplate of the solar panel that the maximum voltage is 150 volts. Also, the AC system voltage is 220 volts. Usually, the voltage rating to properly size a DC surge protective device, SPD, for a solar panel system, the main consideration is that the voltage rating of SPD will be higher than the maximum voltage of your solar array, and consider factors like cable length and location of SPD. The position and number of SPDs depend on cable length between solar panels and the inverter. For cables below 10 meters in length, install one SPD near the inverter, while 10 meters above, install one SPD near the inverter and another SPD closer to the solar panel. For AC system, size the AC SPD using the same parameters. There are two types of SPD, Type 1 and Type 2. Type 1 SPD is typically installed on the line side of the service entrance for protection from external surges and direct lightning strikes, while Type 2 SPD is typically installed on the load side of the service entrance or near the distribution panel board. Usually, the voltage rating of surge protective device for residential setup is 1000 volts. So this is the summary of hybrid solar PV setup. In this diagram, it is also indicated all the values of parameters that are computed.